before I get started, just let me say, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You fine.
Before I get everything rolling, just allowed me to say I'm attempting No Doubt Music, the chick of my fantasies, my significant other Marge, that life for me, it won't be great without it. You shouldn't feel remorseful for anything while it appears as though Steve Harvey is reluctant to lose his significant other Marjorie to such an extent, he is prepared to obliterate the whole web to quiet her supposed issue with the family faculty, and keeping in mind that both Steve and his better half previously tended to the insane tales twirling web base during the previous week, there are as yet numerous giveaways that point that Marjorie was truly laying down with one more man as an afterthought, and it's her obscure past as well as different things as well. So we should dive into the story and get to the foundations of reality. They realized I was a high gamble, so they knew what's in store. Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Celeb Live Channel. Have you seen how rapidly Steve Harvey's cronies are attempting to eliminate all terrible data about Marjorie's supposed undertaking with the family staff individuals? It nearly seems as though Steve is capitalizing on his leverage and cash to close down the talk and return to his life as a family man and relationship master. Well, appears to many individuals that Steve and his family are simply attempting to quiet the whole embarrassment that might spoil his appearance and lead to a difficult and exorbitant separation under the tension of the general public. And this is the kind of thing Steve can't manage to continue to bring in cash and spend them on his wonderful wifey. Me and your mother is burning through 85% of all the cash I'm making, as you might know a piece prior last month. Marjorie, who has been hitched to Steve for a long time, was blamed for going behind her significant other's back with their protector and individual gourmet specialist. She has demanded that the bits of gossip are silliness and untruths composing on her own Instagram. My significant other and I don't typically stop to address all the stupidity and falsehoods that have been spread about us anyway. It seems like the tales hit the problem area, and as insiders currently guarantee these wild hypotheses are as a matter of fact valid, while Marjorie accepts that she has Steve in her iron hold, and that is the reason she's permitted herself to appreciate undertakings all through their whole marriage. I'd exchange my individual for a great what cool kid. Well, that sounds very embarrassing, particularly when you say it live on television. Yet it seems like Marjorie couldn't care less about the things Steve is thinking. And whether is he mindful of her extramarital trickeries with different men, yet folks, once you learn more this woman's obscure past plainly, she is equipped for anything. Did you know, folks, that prior to turning into Steve's third spouse, Marjorie was as a matter of fact his escort, and she has been laying down with him while he was as yet hitched to his second wife, Mary Lee. It's even hypothesized that Marjorie was even the person who helped the family quarrel have with the lawyer during the separation procedures from his now ex-Mary, and just after the separation was settled, the way was clear, so Marjorie updated from a paramour to wife, obviously say, gracious, this lady has no work, you know, socially. She is of no importance. You could never expect Marjorie Harvey, who was referred to for her sleek style and as Harvey's eye candy, to be a particularly wretched individual of low guidelines anyway. Her sketchy past has gone under examination, with reports specifying her contribution in breaking Steve's subsequent marriage, and, surprisingly, partaking in some obscure and unlawful business exercises with her most memorable husband. Evidently, Marjorie wasn't concealing the dishonorable subtleties of her previous existence from Steve, and surprisingly, seriously perceiving how frantically enamored the television have was, she understood that she could do anything she needs without repercussions from his side. Applause. Many individuals are expressing that there's an off-putting thing in the whole occurrence, and the enthusiasm both Steve and Marjorie are attempting to expose the reports in any event, requesting that their persuasive companions toll in. As the well-known axiom goes, there's a smoke, there's certainly fire, and netizens construct more speculations demonstrating that Marjorie and Steve haven't been playing out their conjugal obligations for some time, as one client composed who said Marjorie wouldn't play Steve grimy with a broke man. Why not? Steve presumably have men inconvenience. Is there any valid reason why she won't swindle? She as of now have a rich husband and one more client, added she attempted to lose Steve with cool kid when it was security kid that she was screwing. She's was a dreadful cultivator. At any rate, Steve, now you can find you a decent woman. That is really an opportunity that Marjorie and Steve's cozy life isn't entirely ideal, as it was the point at which she was his courtesan back in 2005. Presently, with Steve turning 67 1 year from now, Marjorie is 8 years more youthful, and evidently she has a greater number of needs than Steve, which she is effectively fulfilling with the assistance of guardians, culinary specialists, cool young men, and knows else in addition to Steve. Doesn't invest a lot of energy at home, so we can hardly comprehend the number of chances to be with his significant other he had missed due to his work. Okay, so that is the variant of the parody club it was truly at the Rose Bowl. It was tremendous. Now, Marjorie doesn't seem to be a lady who burns through her leisure time, trusting that a man will return home and assuming you've been following the narrative of her life. She was not even ready to remain dedicated to her most memorable spouse, a man named Jim Townsend, who washed her in extravagance and cherished very much like Steve, yet tragically due to his criminal operations, he was imprisoned forever, and Marjorie decided to continue on with her personal business. Dating anything she doing, you realize going over my life, attempting to you realize battle escape jail. Marjorie's life immediately took a turn when she met one more vendor, Donald Woods, who was known as Largeware. Marjorie became associated with enormous Daybreak, so she petitioned it for legal separation from Jim, and the two lovebirds moved to Miami together. They were carrying on with a rich way of life supported by huge wares, exchanging exercises, yet again, to a lot of Marjorie's trouble. Lee, her subsequent husband, was captured in quite possibly of the greatest bust in Memphis history, and 1 year after that sad turn of destiny, Marjorie found her approach to Steve's arms, obviously being with quick character, was a lot more secure than residing and investigating the shoulder. Consistently anyway. What Marjorie couldn't dispose of is her previous propensities, and since she has consistently viewed herself as a free bird, she continued to reside in a similar lewdness as before. There is a tad of culpability that we all convey with regards to a wrecked marriage or the messed up family since wedding. Steve, Marjorie has turned into a commonly recognized name and has gained notoriety for her flawless style sense. She has likewise turned into a virtual entertainment powerhouse with a huge number of devotees on Instagram. Her sumptuous way of life has turned into a wellspring of jealousy for some, yet her previous keeps on tormenting her. And that is the reason individuals accept that shit. He's not unreasonably reliable yet. Deciding by Steve's crude responses, plainly the reports hit the trouble spot. I'm not examining the damn thing with you all. As a matter of some importance, you all are dumb. Well, Marjorie had unquestionably arranged the whole existence with Steve, and perhaps of the savviest move she made was ensuring that the television host would take on the entirety of her natural children and remember them for his will. Now, with this ace in her sleeve, she can partake in her life and independence from any conjugal commitments, and realizing that Steve is in the middle of bringing in cash, Marjorie for sure has an adequate number of individuals in that enormous house to keep it spotless and clean, and obviously to stay with her when she is desolate. You have a child, it's okay. I have a companion that arrangements with little circumstances like this currently. Here's something else that causes individuals to accept that Marjorie is messing around with family staff, and you can't resist the urge to see how Steve's organic children respond to the presence of the lady. Most importantly, they weren't energetic about his quieted union with Marjorie, and as Steve himself referenced in one meeting this year, every one of the young ladies went bowling returned and concluded they didn't believe we should get hitched and said they don't believe it's the correct thing to do, notwithstanding that few web-based understudies brought up that the twin sisters Carly and Brandy were frequently missing from Marjorie's family posts via web-based entertainment, and it seems as though the twins don't acknowledge this woman as their stepmom and don't actually need to get to realize her. It was that I was experiencing peacefully every one of the feelings that I was stifling. We as a whole are strolling around in this profound deceitfulness all the time. It's enough that Marjorie is acting along these lines, yet clearly she's showing her girl Lori exactly the same thing. Well, no big surprise why this relational peculiarities are so insane, and occasionally another title around strain and dramatization springs up in the media. It seems to be Marjorie carried a ton of disturbance to the family, and in particular she keeps her significant other on a short rope so she can openly partake in her life as a she doesn't have a husband at all. Many individuals are disheartened in Marjorie's picture after the story with cheating, and yet they say that main visually impaired individual couldn't ever have seen every one of the warnings about her as one client composed she set Steve up. She realized he was simple. Steve began to talk like he's programmed, and another client added what her story justifies itself. And she's certainly instructing it to her little girl, well, seems as though nobody in this family is without a wrongdoing and they impeccably know one another's deficiencies. And what is your take on this, folks? Is the discussion about Marjorie's and Constancy valid? And is Steve Harvey genuinely utilizing his leverage to eliminate badly designed pieces about this episode? Share your contemplations in the remarks underneath. I'm anxious to understand what you're thinking, and meanwhile, check my different recordings about this wild injury. Well, that is supportive of today. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and I vow to be back very soon.